Are you ready? Hey, think you can tell us what to do?
What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome to another must-see podcast from the PWC, and we're talking all about AEW Fight for the Fallen. Again, I'm not sure why they're going with pay-per-view names on a regular episode of Dynamite, but it is seemed to be the norm for AEW. We've had now 4 in a row, and we're getting another one next week. But anyway, we don't need to be worried about that too much. We had a very interesting episode of AEW, to say the least, and you know what? A couple of weeks in, and they've been hitting it. You know, both Fighter Fest nights were great. Road Rage was great, and then I don't know. I think things just fell apart badly here, and it started off hot, and then progressively just got worse and worse as the night wore on. But let's not dwell on that. Let's get straight into the nitty-gritty of it all and actually see what happened, and you can get my view on everything as well. But don't forget, while you're here, click on subscribe and click on the bell to get notified of all PWC content as it gets posted. We'd love to hear from you guys, so please make sure you guys talk to us in the comment section below, and let's push as hard as we can. Right now, to the review. And AEW kicked off hot for Fight of the Fallen. It was a huge 10-man main event caliber of match to open up the show, and it was, of course, Elite taking on the Dark Order with Hangman Page as well, and the stipulation was very simple. If Dark Order and Page pick up a victory, Page gets his one-on-one opportunity for the AEW Championship against Kenny Omega, and the Dark Order gets a tag team title against the Young Bucks. Action started off quite quickly, and it was quite hardcore. Like I said, this was probably the best match of the night. And these guys really went for it. They went hard into this match. And like I said, it felt like a main event quality. And it was very weird to have this match open the show rather than have it towards the end of the show. It was a very interesting way they did it. I'm not 100% sure why it was done this way, but I was excited. I liked it. At one stage, we had a 3-on-1. Adam Page was left in the ring alone with basically the core of the Elite. It was both Jacksons and Kenny Omega. And I thought there was a chance when, I think it was when Adam Page and Long John Silver were in the ring alone. I thought there might be an opportunity. Then it went to 3-1, and I was like, they're teasing this. And then, unfortunately, Page lost out to a chance to get a title shot rather than losing the match in the end. Kenny Omega picked up the victory for his team, eliminating Adam Page. And it hurts because we want to, as fans, we want to see Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. That is where the story should be going, and they just teasing us by not giving us this opportunity to watch this match. And I think it has to happen at All Out. That is the big pay-per-view that we were building up towards. Yes, all these AEW names have pay-per-view names, but it's not All Out. And I think that is going to be the main attraction for that. And I think we're going to get that match. Hopefully, maybe Adam Page finds another way around this stranglehold that Kenny Omega has on the AEW Championship. We then had Ricky Starks come out to the ring and celebrate his FTW title win over Nick Cage. And it was a good segment, a solid segment. It set out exactly what it needed to do to establish the new order of Team Taz. And it was great. Cage coming out and just decimating the entire team was fantastic. And a good little promo segment in the ring. It's something AEW have done all right in recent weeks. And they're getting their backstage promos aren't as hot as what their in-ring promos are, and they're working on that. They are working on that. So yeah, well done for that. It was a good, short, to the point. It was perfect. We then got a backstage segment as well from Hiroshi Tanahashi, and he said he's going to challenge whoever the IGWP US champion is at the end of the night, whether it be Lance or Hikilio. We will find out later, but he set up the challenge, and obviously they've both accepted whether they'll be champions or not. It wasn't really confirmed, but then they confirmed like straight after the match that the match was happening. So obviously at some point they might have all agreed, because they couldn't exactly run into the ring and say, yeah, it's happening. No. But anyway, that's what we got. We then went back to the ring and had the next chapter in the never-ending saga of Pinnacle versus Inner Circle. And this time we had Santana and Ortiz taking on FTR. And what would have been a really good match, I think it was cut short because of the injury to Wheeler's arm. And listen, I think these two teams have the capability of putting on a 5-star match, but unfortunately, it just didn't work out as well as they had hoped in this one. The victory did go to, of course, FTR. Picked up the victory, but again, it was cut short because of that injury, and we hope he's all right. We don't want to see FTR out. They are one of the better tag teams in the division, and one of the tag teams that have actually given an opportunity rather than some of the others that have been sitting on the sideline playing second fiddle to the Young Bucks. But with that being said, I have to feel a bit sorry for Santana and Ortiz. I feel like they've been so misused under AEW at the moment. I don't feel like they're as good as what they were when they were back in Impact as LAX, and they were just dominant. You know, they were so good as them, and then they came to AEW, and yes, Conan has joined them again, but it doesn't feel like their glory days anymore. And I think that's a big problem when it comes to tag team wrestling. You need to feel relevant in your wrestling team, and unfortunately it seems like Santana and Ortiz have slipped down slightly down the ladder of tag teams in AEW, but there's hope that one day they'll come back. He has to keep hoping. We then had probably the biggest pop of the evening, and it came courtesy of Tony Schiavone coming into the ring and announcing that the August 20th, the first episode of AEW Rampage, will take place in Chicago, and it's being dubbed The First Dance. So they continue with the names of every episode, which is cool. This obviously erupted the classic CM Punk chants. That's right, Chicago, First Dance. And if you remember, a couple of days ago, CM Punk posted a little just a tune called The Last Dance, which was the score to the Chicago Bulls song. So there's a bit more, hype. And if that wasn't enough, we got another backstage segment backstage with Darby Allin and Sting. And Darby Allin said he literally challenges anyone who they think is the best in the world to challenge him. Can we get more obvious than that? And listen, guys, if this doesn't happen, if this is not CM Punk that they're all building up to, the Last Dance reference, Chicago reference, Best in the World reference, there's going to be a riot in Chicago. Then we moved back into the ring, or before we moved back to the ring, rather, we had a backstage segment where Malachi Black attacked Cody Rhodes, fueling their ever-presence that we're going to have finally a face-off, and that is happening next week. It was announced at AEW Homecoming, so we are getting that. And then we had Miro cut a little bit of a promo on Lee Johnson, who he's also taking on next week at AEW Homecoming. Moved back into the ring. Not much else to say about the backstage segment, but we got back into the ring with a match that had a lot of hype. And I was looking forward to this match quite a bit. But eventually, it just didn't have the legs to go all the way, in my opinion. It was a trios match between Christian Cage and Jungle Express, taking on members of the Hardy family and the Matt Hardy family. And we had Private Party and Angelico, who were representing them in the trios match. And listen, it was a bit of an upside down match, if it takes. It started off a little bit slower than we expected. With the athletes that were in the ring, we expected a bit more high velocity. It took a bit slower, but once things got going, it was great, and then it just sort of stopped dead. They didn't build it up. What was great, though, was the aftermath of the match. So basically, Matt Hardy tried to interfere in the match. Christian Cage ran him off down the ramp. They picked up the victory, Christian Cage and Jurassic Express. But straight after that, the Blade came in and attacked Christian Cage, setting up a new feud, and which basically means we might be getting the end of the Hardy family and Jurassic Express family. Whether Christian Cage stays with Jurassic Express is something very interesting, or whether he's going to try and venture out solo in untested waters really in AEW, because if you're not part of a faction in AEW, you kind of just disappear and come wrestle once every 3 or 4 months like John Moxley. No steps, I'm just messing around. But yeah, we'll see how that goes for him. The attack from the Blade was an interesting one. Not many expected it, and we want to know answers as to why then and there he decided to attack us. So I'm sure we might get next week at Homecoming. They seem to be building up every week. I'm just not getting these names, guys. But anyway, we'll see what happens next week at Homecoming with Christian Cage and the Blade. And then just before the main event, we had a little bit of a squash match, basically to introduce the AEW audience to a wrestler who's already wrestled several times in AEW, but now has a full-time contract at AEW, Thunder Rosa. And she took on the valet of the Varsity Blondes, Julia Hart, in basically what was just a beatdown of the young star in Julia Hart. She's had a couple of matches on Dark and is looking like to be a decent prospect. But I think that is the problem with AEW's women division, is that 90% of their division is prospect rather than established superstars or someone that can build up. If you look at their ranks currently, they have maybe 3, maybe 4 veterans of the game in the likes of, and I'm using the word term veteran very loosely here, but you've got the likes of Thunder Rosa now, who is good. Awesome Kong, who we haven't seen much of, but is probably working in the background to help the ladies up. You have the Bunny, aka Ali, who has done quite a lot in the industry already. And then, of course, your champion Britt Baker is up there. And then you have talents like Chris Stadler, who are decent wrestlers and upcoming wrestlers, but they're not getting the showcase that they deserve on the main roster. I'm going to call it the main roster because Elevate and Dark are sitting on YouTube and not really main roster and developing, which is great. It's exactly what they need to do, but they need to get more female talent out instead of just being valets like what the Bunny is currently being, what Julia Hart is currently being on the main roster. Rather have them wrestle continuously every week and build up. That's exactly what NXT did, where I have one of the best women's divisions at the moment. And to some extent, it's what Raw and SmackDown are currently doing. They're introducing new faces and they're pushing storyline driven with females. If you look on Raw, there's currently 3 storylines all focused around ladies at the moment on Raw. You have your Charlotte, Rhea Ripley, and Nick Ash storyline. You have the Eva Marie and Doudrop storyline. And then you also have your Alexa Bliss and Marie storyline. That's sort of all developing into one, which is great. You look on SmackDown side, they used to, with the injury to Bayley, unfortunately, caused a bit of a problem, but they have solid female storylines that they're building up. The return of Zelina Vega, Liv Morgan, struggle to get to the top. Things like that. Carmella and Bianca Belair have a nice little rivalry going, and it's building up. It's not great, don't get me wrong. I think WWE's main roster, female roster, is terrible at the moment. It's not great, but they are planting the seeds to make it better. Whereas I feel AEW are not. I think they're focusing way too much on their champion and the challenger and forget about the mid-card when it comes to the ladies. And I think that is the biggest problem when it comes to AEW and their women division. They don't focus on the mid-card. We then had the main event, and you know what? I get there's different styles of wrestling. I get there's different fans for different styles of wrestling. You get your hardcore technical fans, you get your high flying fans, you get, like me, your story driven fans, you get your deathmatch or your extreme fans, and then you get your over the top extreme fans. And you know what, I never understand that wrestling, and I might come off something like Jim Cornette right now, but I really feel like that doesn't have a place in professional wrestling. It's not wrestling. It's just beating each other over with light bulbs, and it kills me because my favorite wrestler of all time, Chris Jericho, finally competed in one. And as a stanza of a storyline with the labors of Jericho, it makes sense. It's basically putting him up against these Herculean effects that he hasn't competed in a long time, or has never competed in these type of matches. And yeah, it's building up to that point where what can Jericho do next sort of thing. And yes, he's never done a death match before, and Nick Gage is probably one of the greatest death elite match guys, whatever you want to call them, I don't know. But again, in my opinion, it just doesn't deserve a place in professional wrestling. And call me Jim Cornette if you want, call me whatever you want, put it in the comments, I don't care. But I did not enjoy this type of wrestling. I hate this type of wrestling. I don't want to see guys getting smacked over with fluorescent lights and getting stabbed in the face with forks. And it's just not for me. I don't enjoy that. I do enjoy hardcore wrestling, don't get me wrong. Mick Foley's one of my favorites. But there's a way to do it, you know. I don't mind thumbtacks, you know, because it's not visually seeing the guy's flesh come off his skin, or having shards of glass going through the guy's eyes or sticking out of his arm. It's just, I feel like, especially in a pandemic, it shouldn't be allowed with the amount of blood that is being spilt as well. It's just irresponsible to me. But anyway, yeah, I'm not even going to rate this match. I don't even want to talk about this match. Chris Jericho won, fantastic. And then MJF was shocked that he won, and then gave him his third labor, which will take place next week at Homecoming. And that is a one-on-one match against Unidad. Yeah, I'm excited for this one, though. So if we're going to talk about how poor that match was, the death match, I'm excited for this one, because Unidad Guerrero, there we go, is probably one of the best high flyers when it comes to the AAA. And I think he's also wrestling in Ring of Honor currently. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but he is fantastic. He's probably one of the best high flyers in the ring. And if we remember going back into Jericho's career, when you look at the Lionheart career of him, he was known as one of the best upcoming young high flyers in the industry. And obviously, with age, Chris Jericho is not as a high flyer as what he's had to adapt his game. And this is what the third task. We're taking a bit of a throwback to what Chris Jericho is, and I wouldn't be surprised if he brought back the Lionheart gimmick for this one. He brought the Painmaker gimmick for this one because it's supposed to be a lot of pain. Maybe he brings back the high-flying Lionheart gimmick for his match against Unidad Guerrero. I'm excited for that. So at least it ended on a positive after what was probably one of the worst ways to finish a show. And with that being said, we had just the review, the Vaz Scale review, ending the show off. And again, it started off hot. I mean, that 10-man match, in my books, easily a 5-star match. It was that good. And if you haven't seen it yet, please, guys, go watch the entire match. Ignore what I said. Just watch it. Even if you know the result, it is such a good match. And something AEW knows how to do is put multi-man matches together. They know exactly when to hit the right spots, when to bring in interferences, all of that. And it's something that they should be proud of on themselves. But unfortunately, from that, it kind of just went downhill until that horrible death match. But let's not dwell on this. All in all, not as good as Fight to Fest Night 1 and 2 and Road Rage. It has dropped a little bit, but maybe on the levels, just a little bit better than Raw. So I'm going to give it a 6.25 for this one, AEW. They have a lot to improve. But with that being said, they've given us a lot to look forward to next week at Homecoming. AEW Homecoming, of course. We're getting the Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes match, rather. And we're also getting the AEW champion, the TNT championship title. That was what, with Miro and, of course, Lee Johnson. We're also getting the Chris Jericho and Unidad Guerrero match. So a lot of stuff to look forward to in the upcoming episode. And then, the tease for CM Punk has to bring your show up a little bit. But like I said, 6.25. Let me know what you guys think. That's all the time we have for you right here on PWC. Please, guys, if you haven't done so already, subscribe. Tell your parents, grandparents, lovers, haters, whoever you like. Please subscribe and click notify so we can build the PWC brand. From me, though, your mother's favorite podcaster, Vaz. Check you guys again soon. Peace! And chicken grease.